Welcome, everyone. My name is Paige, and you are here as part of Deschutes Public Library's virtual programming. Before we begin tonight's presentation, we want to just go over a couple nuts and bolts. There will be opportunities throughout tonight's presentation where you will be prompted to write something down. We hope that you have a pen and paper. I am joined tonight by Marcia K. Morgan, PhD. She is the author of Go, How to Get Going and Achieve Your Goals and Dreams at Any Age, published by the Publishing Circle. This book is available at the library, as well as local bookstores and Amazon. You can find out more about her at www.marciakmorgan.com. Marcia, thank you so much for being here tonight. We're so very grateful you're here. Go ahead and take it away.
Great. Thank you, Paige, and the Deschutes Public Library for inviting me. I appreciate, love being here. We're going to be talking about procrastination tonight. So welcome, welcome. You made it. You're here. You never know when we're talking about procrastination, how many people might come, but we made it. And that's a great first step. And if you're like me, you were pretty darn excited to flip over that calendar from 2020 to 2021. It was a fresh start, and that's what we're going to be talking about tonight too, is fresh starts and how to get motivated and working towards your goals. The motivation is really interesting because it's not only getting going to try to accomplish something, to accomplish the goals, but it's to keep going during a pandemic. You know, we have this inertia, this energy that kind of starts going down a little bit. So we're going to be looking at all the ways we procrastinate, what are some of those reasons, how we might be able to tackle them. In the hour that we have together, a little bit under an hour now, we're going to be talking about a lot of ideas, a lot of tips. They're very tangible kinds of things. It'll be a potpourri that you can kind of pick and choose because everybody has experienced something different in this pandemic, either personally, professionally, financially. Maybe you live alone, maybe you've got an extended family with you, different reasons, obligations to procrastinate. And we'll be talking about some of those excuses or barriers that we all seem to confront. So one of the first things is to think about that we are at a significant anniversary point. Next week is the 1-year anniversary of us going into lockdown during this pandemic. Not necessarily a great anniversary, but when you think back on this last year, I bet a lot has changed for you in terms of your energy and in terms of your motivation. So think back a year ago, and I know our time is very goofy, right? I mean, my whole sense of time is like off. If you said we'd been in a lockdown for a year, I might have said, well, it seems like 3 weeks or 25 years. I don't know. I mean, time is really kind of goofy, but think back a year ago. What was it like when you first went into lockdown? And what was your motivation like? I think about my own situation. I kind of viewed it initially as like a snow day. You know, it was like this gift of time. I'm kind of a news junkie person, but yet I think I was really naive about what we were in for. I kind of thought it might be a few weeks or maybe a couple months that we might be in lockdown. So there was kind of this finite period, and I was really driven. You know, I baked and cooked a lot. I had a lot of Zoom happy hours with friends. Some of that lost a little of its novelty. The pounds, not so much, didn't lose those. But, you know, we did house projects that had been put on hold and craft projects. Somebody finally got their 2008 Christmas gift that I'd only partially made. So, you know, sewing masks for St. Charles. I mean, it was really a high energy time for me. But then I also had this other track going on, a kind of an emotional track that I felt a lot of fear, you know, fear of getting COVID, fear my family would get COVID. And it wasn't just the COVID that was going on. It was, you know, political unrest, civil unrest, forest fires. I mean, we had a huge list of things that were going on during that time. So that emotional track can really be an overlay and impact our linear going for our goals kind of track as well. So inertia starts to settle in. We feel deflated. Our energy's kind of gone by the wayside. I won't even ask how many people out there have worn their pajamas all day long without changing into their clothes. Just a hypothetical. course, it's never happened to me, but you know, we just have been trying to muddle our way through this, and especially in terms of our goals and dreams. So that is the topic of today. We're going to be talking about how to get your mojo back, how to really feel a lot more motivated to do what you want to do. There's nothing that says you have to do anything, but if you want to feel like you've accomplished something, if you want some happiness, you know, this will help juggle that and get that on its way. So about ready to start into the PowerPoint here, but before we do, I did want to mention that I'm a sociologist. I study people's behaviors and groups of people's behavior. I'm not a mental health professional. So if you feel like you're struggling with some of these issues or life, or you want to talk to someone, I really do encourage you to talk to a counselor, a therapist, or mental health professional. We're very lucky in Deschutes County that there's a lot of resources available. So I encourage you to do that. All right, so I'm going to get the PowerPoint up and running here. And as Paige said at the beginning, this is going to be an interactive kind of program. So you need a pen and paper. I'm going to probably ask 4 or 5 different things throughout the hour for you to write down. And this is so that you can really start looking at your own, you know, unique kind of circumstances to help you kind of process through that. So if you don't have a pen and paper, this is a good time to go grab it. This will probably take me like 30 seconds to get the PowerPoint up and running, but go ahead and do that and I'll meet you back here in just a few seconds. Okay. Looks like we've got it rolling here. So pandemic procrastination, here we go. So let's start out with a definition. What is procrastination? Everybody procrastinates at some point, right? And we might do it about different things, but it is the act of delaying, avoiding, or postponing something. Most of the research shows that there are 4 main reasons why people procrastinate. One is to avoid unpleasant feelings. It's a way to regulate happiness for yourself. To focus more on the present self rather than the future self is why you might procrastinate. You might do it because it's easier in the short term not to do something than to do it. And it's absence of goal deadlines and structure. Now, if you look at all those, that last one may kind of jump out at you because that's pretty unique to where we are right now, right? in the middle of a pandemic. So the 10 most common excuses for procrastinating. Let's see, I see a little bar at the top. I don't know if you guys do too. Sorry, I can't get rid of that. The 10 common excuses for procrastinating. Let's kind of walk through those. You may actually recognize some of these is other obligations, maybe obligations of work or school or children, spouse, extended family in your household right now. Sometimes you're following somebody else's dream rather than your own dream. So obligations are a big one. Second one is time management and organizational skills, especially difficult during a pandemic because of the lack of structure. And we'll give some ideas and suggestions on that one. The third common excuse is perfectionism, or the dreaded P word. We don't even like to use that word in our house because there is no such thing as perfectionism, right? The problem with perfectionism is it freezes you. You're afraid to even jump in to start a project or to do something because you have a fear you're not going to do it perfectly, stick your landing the very first time. And I will say that the research shows that women are more frozen with perfectionism than men are generally, because boys are still socialized to be brave and girls are still socialized to be perfect, which makes them a little bit more reluctant to be vulnerable and to fall and to not be in that role of being perfect. We'll talk more about that too. The fourth is a lack of being mindful, being really aware that you're even procrastinating. There's an example of someone who wasn't necessarily mindful in terms of their their work and job. That was someone who shared with me that right after college, they took a job that helped pay for their bills. It was a great job to pay for that kind of thing. And 10 years later, literally this fellow was saying he woke up and said, wait a minute, I don't like this job. This is not my passion. This is not what I want to be doing. This is not my goal. Why am I here? So, it took 10 years of realizing, oh, this is going on for me in my life. So being mindful helps you stay on track better and really be more authentic and happier. So the fifth is sabotage by yourself or others. I don't know if any of you have had this, but maybe your goal is to buy a house eventually, yet you have a credit card that you max out with frivolous things or specialty coffees every day or whatever it might be, or you want to start a business and you get the forms, but you don't fill out the forms. So there's many ways that we sabotage ourselves, and maybe others around us do it as well who are not supportive of us. The sixth is self-esteem, fear of rejection, lack of encouragement, don't have the support in our lives. Some people don't feel worthy of their goal or dream. The seventh is you might not have curiosity. And that's an interesting one. And I could probably do a whole hour just on curiosity and what the research shows. But curiosity is that appetite to learn. But if you don't have that, you might feel stupid asking questions. How else will you learn how to proceed or how to figure out your goal or that kind of thing. Last year, I decided I needed to enhance my curiosity. So I picked 4 things that I knew nothing about and decided I would be a little vulnerable. So I learned how to play the bagpipes, how to tap dance, how to fence, not sell stolen goods, but like fencing, like with a foil, and how to use an abacus. Not all at the same time. These are separate things, but think about how you can enhance your curiosity and feel okay about that, because that helps give you self-esteem as well. The next one that's a common excuse for procrastinating is learned helplessness or victim thinking. I know people that still talk about an ex-husband that did them wrong, 10 years ago, or a boss that fired them 5 years ago, and they're still hanging on to that. They act as if they have no power, no voice, or personal responsibility. The good thing about learned helplessness is it can be unlearned. So think about the words that you use. Maybe as you think about excuses for procrastination, you might use things like, well, I had to do this. Had to sounds like maybe giving up your power. So think about some of the words you use. Are you getting into a role of being a victim and not really being in charge of your life, which we'll talk about in a moment too. The ninth is the goal or activity is not a good fit. You might be procrastinating because you are not finding joy in doing this task or going for this goal or this activity. So think about that. Is this goal really something you want to do? Somebody else thinks you should do? Really find out if it brings you joy. And then the 10th is you feel overwhelmed, tired, or no energy. Once again, that's one we're going to focus on because it really does impact us during this pandemic. I have a little quote next to my computer that I want to read to you about people that procrastinate. And it's a quote about squirrels. And the quote is, make a decision, right or wrong. The road of life is filled with flat squirrels who couldn't decide. So think about making decisions. Okay, your first activity. Hopefully you've got that pen and paper with you. Write down why you feel you procrastinate right now. What are some of those excuses or barriers that keep you from achieving what you want? So write down, maybe you've got 3, 4, 5, 6 things that really are what you feel are your barriers, and then circle the ones you feel are the most significant to you. Okay, we'll just take a couple minutes here. Okay, have you had a chance to write a few things down? I hope you'll hang on to this list because you might think of other ones as we go along, so feel free to add them. If you want to share them, you're welcome to share them in the chat with others as well. There may be somebody who wants to share it and share some of their thoughts. So, okay, hang on to that activity. So why is it important to look at these excuses? What is it when we procrastinate and we aren't going for our goals? What occurs is what I refer to as dream drain. Dream drain is the evaporation of one's goals, dreams, and aspirations. And what happens is that people often adjust their goals to fit their circumstances rather than adjusting their circumstances to fit their goals. So what happens is life just kind of occurs to them. It happens to them. So ask yourself, are you a waiter or a creator? A waiter is someone who lets life happen to them, spending energy to maintain the status quo. External factors are the ones that control them. A creator is someone who takes charge and creates the life they want. They are thoughtful, deliberate about where they are today and where they want to go. Creators usually make better, more informed decisions, which is a better fit and therefore, are happier. So which one do you think you are? Write down on that piece of paper. Are you a waiter or a creator? My guess is that you are a creator, or you're trying to move in the direction of being a creator. And that's maybe why you're even attending tonight. Okay, so are you ready to start working on your goals during the pandemic? Okay, let's get started here. So there are 6 steps to get going to seize this gift of time. And I still call it a gift of time, even though some of us have more time than others. So before we look at those 6 steps, let's get kind of a mindset adjustment to one of positivity. The first is gratitude. Yes, we have a whole lot of things going on that are not so good in our lives. But if we can come into the day with gratitude for whatever it is, we just got a new puppy 5 days ago. So I have a lot of gratitude around the happiness with that. There's just so many things that we can be really thankful for. Make each day count. Be intentional. When someone said make each day count to me recently, I thought that's it. So, I start writing that everywhere. Make each day count. When you think that it's finite, like I did at the beginning of the pandemic, I thought maybe this is only good for a few weeks. It made each day count so much more. And now it's kind of getting into what the next point is blur's day. We don't necessarily know what day of the week it is, right? So we need to add some structure, be intentional and add structure, and we'll talk about that. Okay, so the first step, drill down to the why. Why do you feel stuck and procrastinate? Keep asking why to each answer until you get to the core of your reasons. So, you ask a question. Here's an example. I feel stuck because I have no energy. Why don't you have energy? Because I don't sleep well. Well, why don't you sleep well? Well, I'm worried about not being able to get a vaccine. Why are you worried about not being able to get a vaccine? Because I don't know where to sign up. Why don't you know where to sign up? I've not taken the time to find out or to talk to anyone. So you can see how you ask why to each one of those answers. If you hadn't done that, the first thing they said was, I feel stuck because I have no energy. And you thought, okay, drink more coffee. Who knows where you might go with that one. But as it went in deeper, you see now that it was all about the vaccine, and all they needed to do is maybe get on the Deschutes County website or whatever it might be. So you can see that if you dig deeper, you can get to the core of the issue. So with that in mind, think about why you feel stuck and ask yourself 3 or 4 whys. Sometimes it takes 5 or 6 whys, but just get 3 or 4 and see how much deeper you can get with that. Okay. So just take a moment to ask yourself why to each one of those. Okay, well, that got you kind of started on that, and you can go even deeper or even ask some other questions that might help you get a little deeper to the core. Okay, so also in the mindset category, think about, are you a pessimist or an optimist in terms of your life, in terms of your life right now in a pandemic? Pessimists see life's roadblocks as personal and permanent. Optimists see them as temporary, expected, and navigable. So if you are one or the other, you can see how you can really get farther being an optimist. We also need to take a look at quite deeply our motivation. Some goals might best be approached as a lifestyle change, such as diet and exercise. There are other ways to look at creative motivators. Maybe you are at home with a lot of people in your household right now, and you only have little snippets of time being creative. You know, while you're doing laundry, that's a particular time that you work on your business plan. You you try to figure out what are some interesting ways to motivate myself right now, because you can make time here and there. Are they maybe certain health benefits? You're feeling like, maybe, you have gained some weight, or not gained weight, or whatever it might be. I know I have a significant high school reunion coming up this summer, if they have it. And so I thought, okay, that's really shallow. However, it might be a motivator for me, and I'm going to seize it. Whatever might work for you right now. Okay, the activity. Jot down what typically motivates you, and then what motivates you right now, and see if those are one and the same or if they're different. And I wrote up some examples here of some typical motivators, money, success, fame, pride, peace, happiness. You can see the ones listed up there. So think through what typically motivates you, and how about right now? Okay, I imagine you have a pretty good list started. And then circle the ones that are the most important motivators for you. Okay, so we've got a pretty good idea going here with step one about our mindset, about motivation, and kind of that background to get going. So the second step two, is to make a pandemic goal, plan, and structure. There's that structure thing we were talking about. So you are more likely to achieve your goals if they're written down. In fact, the research shows about 47 times more likely to achieve something if you write it down, or on paper or digitally. So think about your goals and dreams, map out a plan, figure out what brings you joy, figure out those bad habits. How much time do you spend on bad habits? Maybe it's going down rabbit holes in the computer when you're trying to look up stuff. I have a weakness with Pinterest. I mean, there's just a lot of things a lot of us do that we spend a lot of time. Maybe they're bad habits, maybe they're not. It's really a self-defined thing. But think about all of those things and realize that, okay, I need to write this down, how I want to get to my goal. Maybe you feel stuck because you don't know what to do, so you can chunk it down. And that's what is suggested in this layout of this plan, so that you make steps or tasks that are small and measurable. You look at the resources needed, and that can be people, that can be money, that can be all sorts of creative things. Maybe it's space, maybe it's a half hour of somebody's time. It can be all sorts of things. And then always have a timeline, and not say next fall, but to say September 1st, or something very specific. And the steps should be very specific too. So this is kind of your treasure map. This will help you get to your goal. But on a daily basis or a weekly basis, the research shows if you have a written down to-do list, and once again, on paper or digitally, that is more likely to get you to where you want to go. So I imagine some of you do weekly, some of you do daily, but I wanted to just put this one up. This is one that I do on my computer that I run off a stack every month. And then I do one every single day. So I have at the start of my to-do list, I have a mantra. My motivation mantra is what I call it, or motivator mantra. And that changes from time to time. Right now, it's a little, boot camp sergeant after having a double espresso or something. Sometimes it's a very gentle mantra, but for me right now, I just finished another book that just came out last week, and I was really trying to push myself. So this mantra, start each day with gratitude and each task with love, grace, and compassion. You are the creator of your life, not the manager of your circumstances. Play full out and all in. Good things come to those who hustle. Live with passion and rock the world. Rejections, mistakes, rewards mean you are in the game. Learn from them and keep playing. So I read that every day because it's on my to-do list. And like I said, I can change that up. I have my A tasks and my B tasks, your priority tasks, and the ones that aren't as priority. And these tasks are taken from that action plan that was on the previous slide. And then I have PIP, which is projects in process. And those are projects that I've gone as far as I can with them. So maybe I've sent something to someone to look at or review, and I'm waiting for them to respond back. Maybe I've ordered something on Amazon and I'm waiting for it to arrive. It's things I don't want to lose track of, but I do want to just, keep them written down. Car errands, appointments, those are pretty blank these days, I might add. And then I also have a spot on there for fun things because I don't want to forget to do that too. So there's lots of ways to do to-do lists, but this is just one. And I like the idea of doing a mantra motivator on the top of your to-do list as a way of being your own little cheerleader every day. Okay, so your activities. I would like you to answer this question: what I want to accomplish or do. This is really trying to get at your goals, what you wish to be doing right now in the pandemic. Write fast and without judgment or edits. Just write the things you wish you want right now. What are those things that you want to accomplish? Okay, go. You probably saw one of the last instructions there is to circle your most important goals or wishes. So look at your list and go back and circle the ones you find most important. Okay. Once again, I hope you'll continue working on this. The writing fast and without judgment really kind of gets at your core level. What do I really want to be doing? There are some silver linings, that have come out of the pandemic, and it's helped us prioritize, what really is important. It's taught us to let go of other things, which is also nice. So look at the things you've written down. Think back on this action plan. Think about your to-do list, if you have a to-do list. And all of us, at this point in our lives, we have some system in place to help us get through the day, some sort of calendar system or to-do system. But think about it. How is it working for you right now in the pandemic? And are you reluctant to change? Ask yourself why you might be reluctant to change. Is it serving you well during the pandemic? So think about the to-dos, think about what you're trying to accomplish, and see how those all might be able to mesh together. Are some of these things that you wrote down quickly, are they long-term or short-term goals? There's no right or wrong on what they may be. Okay, so hang on to that list as well. Okay, step 3. This is a lot based on my book, Go, and the word Go stands for goal objects. The research shows that people who are reminded of their goals and visualize their goals are much more likely to achieve them. So one way to do that is by having goal objects around as a reminder and as kind of a thing to symbolize what you're trying to do in life. The objects can be selected by the person or the individual to represent his or her goal or goals, and they can be anything. They can be located next to the bed. They can be next to your sink. They can be next to your computer. I know people that take a picture of their goal object and put it as a screensaver. You can put it on a key ring, on your backpack. Nobody necessarily knows at all what this goal object is. It means something to you and represents something to you. There's no special power that this object has, other than the fact that the research shows if you remember it, it keeps you mindful and kind of a compass to move you towards the goals that you wish to accomplish. Sort of where your focus goes, your energy will flow. So goal objects can be just about anything. They can be big or small. Most people kind of do the small just because it's easier to have with them in a backpack or purse, or as I said, next to a nightstand or that kind of thing. They can be found around the house. They can be found in nature. You can buy things online, a craft store. I think one of the best places to find goal objects are Christmas ornaments, because there's so many Christmas ornaments that are thematic of occupations or of, animals or whatever it might be. So that's a really great place to start too. So I've got a few slides here of goal objects that I wanted to just show them to you. I've got a number on my website that people have put up. They're really fun to look at. Some you know what they are and some you don't, and that's okay too. It's individual for the person. This is one young woman who wanted to be a veterinarian. And I'm not sure of all the symbolism in here, but you can guess some of them, that these are things she wanted to do. She obviously needed some money, so she's got change on one side of the dog dish. This is almost her little altar to motivate her to go to veterinary school, that she has to work hard in math and science and so forth. So this is, a larger scale goal objects than some. This is also a larger one too. This is someone who wanted to travel the world, so had this little display set up. Another person who wanted to go to law school, so has the scales of justice. This is a person who wanted to work on a dude ranch, and they set up this little picture and candle and so forth. This is a woman this is her office, and she had this little stuffed bird, not a real bird, It's a fake bird. And she wanted to take flight and start her own business. She felt this was very freeing to her to do this, which I thought was kind of cool. So what this was is she would see this bird every day at her office. And at noon, she had this whole plan laid out in her action plan that she went and found office space. And then she found some, furniture online. And then, she just methodically went through and to the point that after several months, she was okay to leave her job and start her business. She was ready to go. So this was a motivator for her to take flight. This is probably my favorite one. This is a woman who wanted to start a food truck to sell cupcakes. And so she has her little toy food truck. And then she has a cupcake tin or muffin tin with 12 slots in it. And she put her tasks that she needed to do over the next 12 months to get this business off the ground, getting all the business permits and licenses and trying out recipes and all those things you need to do in buying a truck and painting it and all that. So she had each task in each of the slots. So each slot represented 1 month, what she needed to get done in the 12 months. So I thought it was quite clever and quite appropriate for what her goal was. This is someone who wanted to be an actress. And then here's a couple of Christmas ornaments, as I was mentioning. This is someone who wanted to move to Hawaii and someone who wanted to go to Ireland and trace their family tree. But these were, as I mentioned, both Christmas ornaments. Someone who wanted to hike in the Andes. This happens to be my own goal display, not just one object, but display that I keep at my desk. This is kind of hard to see with the sizes, but it's probably 10 inches by 12 inches or 14 inches. And it's a little wooden box. I think I got it at a secondhand store that I put different symbolic things in it for me in each of the components, including the middle one. A woman friend gave me this flying woman in the middle that had a briefcase and a newspaper and airline tickets. And in my work world, I used to fly I worked out of Washington, D.C. and used to fly a couple times a month, various places around the country. So that felt like my life in the middle. And then I put my goals on little index cards that I kept at the top of my display. And I was able to switch them out when I finally accomplished a goal. So I felt like all these things below helped support me to get those goals. In the upper right-hand corner, the yellow box, I have a little rock and I painted the names of my women friends on it because they give me a lot of strength and good cheerleaders. And then below that is Ganesh, a little deity that helps you get over barriers. And then on the top left is pictures of my husband, who's also a great cheerleader and support. And below that is honoring my father, who has there's a little paint stick, and he was a very, very creative man who really helped me get going on a lot of starting my own business and so forth. So all those strengths and supports help me get going. So you can be as elaborate as you want to be. This is another one. I don't know all the symbolism and what that meant to somebody, but it meant something special. And another one, I'm not sure exactly what all it meant, but it meant something to her. So you can see that goal objects can be very fun to collect, especially, a little project to do right now. You don't have to be creative. You don't have to paint something, but you sure can. I mean, you can do whatever you want to do. So this is your next activity. Think of one goal object to represent a goal you want to achieve during the pandemic. And your assignment is to get it this week. So look back at the last activity where you listed all these goals you really wanted to be doing, and think of one goal object that might be good to have to represent that goal. Okay. Okay. Hopefully that got you started, got those juices flowing. And this can also be a fun activity for other family members. Maybe you have a family goal that you're working on. Maybe you want to all go to Disneyland after the pandemic. I mean, there's all sorts of fun things you can do either individually or as a family. Okay, for the step 4 is to seek support. And this can be a tricky one in the pandemic, right? Because we're all alone or inching our way towards not being alone, but we're still pretty isolated and social distancing. So find some friends, and also be sure that one of those friends is what I call an accountability buddy. It's nice to have friends who are supportive. I mean, it's wonderful. But accountability buddy is somebody who says, you said you were going to do this, but it doesn't look like you did that. Or, how can we work on this together? Or, they really kind of tell you the truth, the kind of hard things to hear sometimes, but sometimes that's the same as your friend. But think about the accountability aspect of it. Think about your family, neighbors, mentors that can also be support. There are some wonderful motivating podcasts right now. So you may want to look at some of those, or rather listen to some of those that especially maybe are geared right towards the goal that you're trying to accomplish. Look for some online groups, meetings, classes, apps. The library is a great resource in Deschutes County. I'm so impressed with all that they do and what Paige does. And what a great name to have the name Paige and work at the library. It's great. Anyway, look at a lot of the offerings that they have. If you're a writer, there's a Central Oregon Writers Guild that meets at the library. So there's all sorts of things that you can do. A lot of them are by Zoom right now, but they're all ones that can support what you decide you want to do for your goal. The other part of support is self-support. Being gentle with yourself during this time. I'm sure there's things that you've done where in a great area where we can take a lot of walks in nature. Research shows pets certainly can help reduce stress and that kind of thing. It's the whole thing of putting on your own oxygen before you can help others kind of thing. So think about things that you really can help you feel calmer, and that will help with your endorphins and making you happier and so forth. So the idea is to really try to be around supportive people, to try to avoid toxic people, and try to connect in ways that maybe are a little unique during the pandemic. I wanted to do a quote from Mark Twain. He said, "Stay away from people who try to belittle your ambitions. Small people always do that, but the really great make you feel that you too can become great." So for this activity, I'd like you to list a supportive people or your accountability partners in your life. And like I said, they may be one and the same. Jot down how you can connect with them during the pandemic to support you. Maybe you're already doing that, which is great. And then identify some toxic people and how you might be able to avoid them. And we didn't talk a lot about toxic people. That's kind of a broad generalization, but people who are not your cheerleaders or who might be less than supportive or sabotage what you're doing or feel competitive with you, less than truthful with you. Life's too short. We've learned that, right, from the pandemic, that we need to really avoid those people. So do the activity, look at supportive, how to connect, and toxic. Go ahead. Okay. Hang on to that one too. You might think of other people you want to add into your list. That The neat thing about, another silver lining, I suppose, about the pandemic is that we have learned to connect in very unique kind of ways. So, think broadly when you think about connecting, because it might be a high school friend or college friend or a relative you haven't connected with, but with Zoom and with many other things now, you might be able to connect much easier. Or I go to a lot of classes, like the master class, kind of other classes that are offered out in New York. And we just took a cooking class out of New York, and it's like, wow, you aren't limited to just locally. So there's a lot of interesting things that you can do. Just a couple more things on self-care too, as we're talking about people and self-care. It's suggested to try to remember a time that wasn't this time. So we're not so intense on what we're in right now with this pandemic and the news and politics and everything, but to step back from it. Try to organize your environment better. Maybe you've watched The Home Edit on Netflix or, other organizing kind of shows. It makes you feel more in control when your environment is in control. Try to create. We've instituted these Sunday drives with picnics. We're sounding very old here, our Sunday drive, but we throw in the picnics and it can be really fun. Meditate, journal, read more, laugh more, do affirmations, reduce alcohol and sugar. So there's a number of things that really can help with that. And I didn't want to spend a lot of time on that because there's so much out there now in magazines and online to look at those kind of activities. Okay, the fifth one, the next step, and we sound a little bit like Nike, just do it, but dive in and do it. What they found with procrastinators is they often have things backwards. Procrastinators they feel like they need to be motivated, driven, and energized before they tackle their goal. But what they found is if you just jump in and just start in on your goal, whatever you're trying to do, that in itself can be a motivator and help you move along if you're feeling stuck rather than waiting to be motivated. So, I can relate to that. Sometimes, I don't want to walk. It's so cold out there. But, once you get walking and you feel a lot better, and you feel better when you've gotten back and gotten some activity. So list a goal you've been procrastinating about and one action that you could do tomorrow to move towards accomplishing that goal. So we've been talking about our goals, but this is the jump in. Okay, what can you do to jump in right now on something you've been procrastinating about? So go ahead and take a moment to do that. Okay, so you've got your homework assignment for one thing to jump in tomorrow to get a goal object, and one thing that you can do to move towards accomplishing your goal. Now, maybe it's getting that goal object. That's okay too. But you've been given your assignment to do one thing tomorrow. That will help with our procrastination, right? And then we need to celebrate those small steps and victories. We don't celebrate enough. We think, oh, we've got to wait till we reach that goal. But those little victories are really important. Maybe they're ones you didn't expect, or some comments from somebody that they think, way to go, good job. Gosh, you're down 10 pounds. Rather than saying, oh, I really want to lose 30, celebrate those 10 pounds. So where you are now, don't wait, but that will help you move along as well. The other thing as we're moving along is handling setbacks. And that can be huge. I just spent the pandemic writing a book, which just got published last week. I wrote every day. And one of the big things you deal with in the publishing world is setbacks and criticism. And I am weird, I guess, because I love giving it to an editor. I love getting the feedback because I feel so isolated when I'm writing it. However, I know someone who wrote for months. She submitted it to the first round for edits, got so many red marks back that she was devastated and she never looked at it again. So you have to look at setbacks differently, that they are learning experiences. So these are the steps that are usually recommended, and it can be setbacks for anything. Take a brief break. Maybe it's a half a day, maybe it's a week, maybe it's a month, but get away from the situation just briefly. Be gentle with yourself. Realize that everybody goes through this. Conduct an analysis. Okay, what could I have said differently, done differently? Why was this interpreted this way? Maybe I went to the wrong person, whatever that is, but think analytically about it. Review your original goals. Maybe that isn't a good fit. Reinvent yourself in creative kind of ways. Start visualizing your success with your goal objects and then jump back in. Be open to being vulnerable and to possibilities, but truly setbacks are ways to learn and be wiser and move ahead. Okay, the last one, and we're just down to the wire here on our time, is to move. And how many times do we hear this, right? It's good to move, but to move physically in any way that you can. It's that old, get the endorphins running. We want to be happy. We want to be more energized when we sit down at the computer or when we're doing our painting or when, whatever our goal is. So move, and the more movement, the better. Hang on a second, okay. You may be wondering why Lewis and Clark is here, but 2 weeks ago, we were watching an OPB special on Lewis and Clark. And think about them. Here they were walking across the country, canoeing. They were fearful. They didn't know what was around the bend. There was sickness, some common things with what we're going through now in terms of fear and sickness. But does anybody want to guess what they did? Lewis and Clark did every night. I don't think Sacagawea did, but York, everybody did this activity. They had a dance party. I had never read that in the history books. They danced every night. I mean, like really all out kind of dancing around the fire. And, it probably helped with their endorphins too, and getting out their stress and so forth. So even Lewis and Clark dance. You can get things cheaply. This is my Craigslist home gym. I did this really cheaply off of Craigslist. But I took YouTube, free YouTube programs. I put it on an old laptop. And so it's really easy. It takes me like 2 minutes to set it up every morning. And I do it Monday through Friday, 9 o'clock. I leave weekends free, so I don't do that. So I can tell it's a weekend for starters. But you can do things pretty cheaply. What I decided to do for exercise is what's called bar fight, BARRE, like ballet bar. So it's ballet and kickboxing. And it's really an odd combination, but it's really great. Aerobic exercise, stretching, weights, and so forth. So it kind of gets out a lot of my stress too. So that happens to be my world, but you can create any kind of situation that works for you. We only have a couple minutes left, but I hope you'll commit to a specific movement this week. Maybe you're already doing that, but think about something that would get you moving. So those are the 6 steps. Understand why you feel stuck, get that deep spot, make a plan, write things down, use goal objects, seek support, dive in and just do it, and move. Okay, look at your notes, maybe put some stars next to the action steps you want to commit to this week. So when you value your goals and dreams, you're really valuing yourself. As Paige mentioned, a lot of this is from my book. I hope you'll get a chance to look at it. There's a lot of work activities, worksheets and different things. You can also go to my website and download a free questionnaire that helps you look at how close am I to reaching my goals. So I hope you'll join me there. And I also have 10 videos on YouTube that talk about the different aspects of going for your goals as well. So that gets into a lot more detail than we were able to tonight. But best of luck to you all. I really hope that you will find your goals and dreams, even in the middle of this crazy pandemic. And that timeline is near the end. So let's hope that we can all get there safely. Okay, Paige, are you there?
Thank you so much, Marcia. This was wonderful content. We had a couple of comments come through the chat, no questions, but I just wanted to say this to everyone because I feel these are really impactful. Thank you so very much. This is truly helpful and I need it. I look forward to starting this tomorrow. We also have some applause and just a general thank you. This was great. You covered so much in such a short time and it was so tangible. I took a bunch of notes. I am really looking forward to getting to dive in tomorrow. And I love how you made everything digestible and step by step took us through what it takes, which is really not a lot. Just getting that first foot out the door. I'm going to ask if anyone has any more questions. I see people coming through the chat just saying thank you, which is great. We love that. We're so very grateful to everyone who participated tonight. We know that you have a lot of things that you could be doing, and you came and spent some time with us here, so we're very grateful. We invite you to, of course, check out Marcia's book. I put a link to her book, Go, How to Get Going and Achieve Your Dreams at Any Age. I put a link in the chat to where you can find that at your Deschutes Public Library. Also, check out our YouTube page. Deschutes Public Library has a bunch of fun, free content that we would love for you to engage with, all available at the touch of a button. So please check out our YouTube page, and we hope that we'll see you again soon. Thank you so much, Marcia, pardon me. Thank you so much, Marcia. And thank you to everyone for joining us tonight. This was How to Overcome Pandemic Procrastination to Make 2021 Awesome. Check back in with us. Let us know what was your goal and how did you achieve it. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
Bye.